week 2 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few pitchers I'd look to buy and trade for this week. The first guy, Taijuan Mahle of the Cincinnati Reds. So Mahle last season, a great season he had with the Cincinnati Red team with a 13-6 record in 180 innings with 12 quality starts. But so far this season, he was off to a slow start here. Is Mahle, especially getting bombed in his last outing on the season. 12 and 2/3, 15 hits, 11 earned runs, 6 walks, and 16 strikeouts. I know this Red team, they're not going to be as good as they were last season, where they were closing in on making the playoffs before falling short towards the end of the year. So the first 3 outings here for Mahle on the season. April 7th at Atlanta, 5 innings, got the win. 3 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks. April 8th versus Cleveland, 4 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 Ks. And then April 17th at the Dodgers, he got bombed 3 2/3, got the loss, 7 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 Ks. And right here, after a bad 2 outings in a row, failing to get into the 5th inning and getting bombed by the Dodgers, he's definitely a guy where his value's gone down. And you could get him on a little bit of a cheap, because I know he's a good starting pitcher. Last season, he had a good season. And to be honest, that NL Central isn't the greatest divisions. I know you got a few decent teams in there with Milwaukee and the Cardinals, and the Cubs are a mediocre team. But right here, there's even a possibility he might get traded to a contender by the MLB trade deadline as well, where they were dangling him early in the offseason. But nothing came to fruition, obviously. So right now, after coming off of 2 bad starts, he's a perfect buy low candidate, is Mahle. And he's a good guy that could go deep into games. He's got good strikeout stuff. And he's just off to a slow start in the early going so far. The next guy is Ian Anderson of the Atlanta Braves, a former top prospect. Ian Anderson so far, it's been a mixed bag of results in his first 2 outings of the season here for him, and he'll pitch his next ball game Sunday versus the Miami Marlins. So on the season here so far for Ian Anderson, 8 1/3, 1-1 record, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 6 walks, and 8 strikeouts. So right here, the walks have been killer for him in the early going. April 10th versus Cincinnati, 2 2/3, got the loss, 3 hits, 5 earned runs, 5 walks, a strikeout. And then April 16th, the funny thing is, versus a tougher team at San Diego, 5 2/3, got the win. 2 hits, an earned run in that ball game, a walk in 7 Ks. So right here, Ian Anderson last season, he had up and downs, but this Brave team needs him to take the next step. And now with 1 good start and 1 horrible start here, he's still a guy that I don't think a lot of people are sold on in fantasy baseball, but I'm pretty big on Ian Anderson over the last few seasons. Obviously, he's on the World Series defending champs. He's got a good lineup that could back him. And as long as he don't walk the ballpark, this guy's a solid starter to be your 4th or 5th starter possibly for your fantasy team here, or even a guy that comes off the bench. So right now, after the 2 outings, he's still a guy I think you could buy on the low here, because he could go 1 good outing, 1 bad outing, which we saw a lot last season. But I think he's going to kick things into gear and be consistent and a solid starter this year, and he's definitely a guy I could buy this week here, and his value isn't top notch. The next guy is Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees. So Garrett Cole, ever since the substance scandal last season where the pitchers were getting checked and stuff, Cole just hasn't been the same, it seems like. He's not at those ace levels like he was with the Astros, obviously, and early in the season last year with the Yankees before they started cracking down. So on the season here for Cole, a mediocre season. It is 11 1/3, 9 hits, 0-0 record, 8 earned runs, 7 walks, and 12 strikeouts. So his command's been an issue as well with the 7 walks and 11 1/3 here is Cole. And his first 3 outings, April 8th versus Boston, only 4 innings in that one, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and 3 Ks. April 13th versus Toronto, 5 2/3, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, 6 Ks. And then April 19th at Detroit, he only lasted 1 2/3 in that ball game. A hit, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, and 3 Ks. So command's definitely been an issue for Cole. This guy was an early draft pick, late first, early second round in most fantasy leagues. And like I mentioned, just in the year and a half, he just hasn't lived up to expectations now in the last year and a half, like I mentioned to you. Looking, it looks like the sticky substance definitely played a factor in Cole being this lights-out pitcher, because he just hasn't been the same now, like I mentioned, since last summer. So right here, after 2 bad outings and failing to go through 2 innings, his value is definitely low right now, and I still think he's a solid pitcher. Obviously, he's got a great lineup behind him, even though the Yankees have got off to a slow start, but the Yankees, they'll be fine in my opinion. Second half, is where they really turn things on and Gerrit Cole, he's going to get things going, I believe. So right now, while his value's down and the last few outings have been a train wreck for him, this is a perfect time to go out there and buy him low. The next pitch is Zach Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies. So Wheeler's off to a horrific start so far this season here. Last season, he finished second in the NL Cy Young Award, losing out to Corbin Burns. But the first two outings of the season have been horrible. On the season, 7 2/3, 0-2 record, 10 hits, 8 earned runs, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts here for Wheeler. So last season possibly could have been a fluke where he just had a lights out season. But so far this year here, it's been horrible. April 12th versus the Mets, 4 2/3, got the loss, 2 hits, 1 earned run, a walk, 3 Ks. And April 17th at Miami, they destroyed him, 3 innings, got the loss, 8 hits, 7 runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. So right here, Zach Wheeler, I know he was injured coming into the season here, and maybe he's not up to par yet, but after coming off that bad outing, his value is definitely down this season here. And he's got a tough matchup coming up April 23rd as well versus the Milwaukee Brewers. So right now, Zach Wheeler, tough matchup coming up. Got bombed at the Miami Marlins. But this Philly team here, they're going to get things going as well, especially the offense. They started to get going a little over there at Coors Field, even though a lot of people you get right in a great hitter's ballpark like Coors. Well, right now, I'm not worried about Wheeler. Like I mentioned, he came out banged up out of the gates. And right now, you definitely could get him on the cheap after getting bombed in his first couple outings here. And the fifth and final pitcher I look to buy and trade for this week's Freddy Peralta of the Milwaukee Brewers. So last season was a great season for Peralta with a 10-5 record on the year with 14 quality starts and 195 strikeouts and only 144 innings. So far this season, Peralta's got out of the gate slow. 7 innings, 0-1 record, 9 earned runs, 6 walks, and 10 Ks. Pitching's been tough to come by for the most part in the first 2 weeks of the season here for fantasy owners. But right now, with these top names struggling and guys most people took in the top 5 rounds of their drafts here, this is a perfect time to go out there and get them, because once these guys get in a rhythm and get in mid-season form, you're going to have to trade the premium for them. So right now, while they're struggling, you don't got to give up top dollar to get these guys. So the first 2 starts here for Peralta, April 10th at the Cubs, only 4 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 6 Ks. And then April 15th versus the Cardinals, he got bombed, 3 innings, got the loss, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. So his next outing is tomorrow with the Philadelphia Phillies, and that definitely could be a tough matchup with a tough ballpark for pitchers, and obviously that Philly offense with all these great power hitters, obviously Harper, Schwarber, Rhys Hoskins, you got Didi Gregorius, and Nick Castellanos. That's going to be tough, that matchup, no doubt about it. But like I mentioned, the Phillies are struggling, and Peralta right now, I still have faith in him, and he's on a Milwaukee team that definitely could be the NL Central winners this season here. Them are the Cardinals, I think, would take that division. So while he's struggling, it's a perfect time to go out there and make a deal for him. So that's a few pitches I look to buy and trade for here for week 2 of the fantasy baseball season.